to the Say So podcast. I'm Kaitlin.
And I'm Darbi.
Today, we wanted to just have a very real conversation. A little bit of behind the scenes action of our lives.
I know you guys want to know.
Because we want to know yours.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know the reality of people's lives. Like,
don't we?
What's it really like?
Tell us the truth.
You know? So we were just talking through our weekend. It was a long weekend, 3-day weekend, and seemed like a lot happened.
A lot.
In a few days.
So much. It feels like probably a couple weeks just went by.
Yeah.
And then it was not that.
No, I know. So we were just sitting here kind of talking about it, and I think the overall kind of thing that comes out in conversations like this is how do you live out what you say that you believe? How do you put into practice the things that that you do believe or that you encourage others to believe? Because that is a struggle, right? Like, we can be totally honest about that. It's hard, putting your money where your mouth is. And I think
Totally.
That's something we want to talk about.
Yeah, because we've been listening to all these testimonies for the last few weeks, and of course we're trying to always share ours. And there's a fine line sometimes between being authentic and being real, but also being full of faith and speaking what we seek to see in our lives. And so Kaitlin and I have always kind of strived to bring as much truth as we can to who we really are and to other people's lives and our own lives, and what does that look like without sharing more than is helpful,
right,
or more than is necessary. But I do think we need to normalize more of the hardness, which has kind of been our anthem, I guess, since we started.
Yeah.
Because we've looked for that ourselves in people. Like, who can we follow on Instagram? Who can we know in real life that's doing good work, for the Lord, but who's also, real? Not pretending that your marriage is perfect or your kids are perfect or your faith is perfect, because that's not reality. It's just not.
No. And it's just not relatable. There's such a, I feel like just a battle of, when you are living according to your faith, then sometimes you feel like you have to make it look like you've got it figured out.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then how can you lead people? Or, I guess for me, sometimes it makes you think, well, I don't know. I don't know if it's an expectation I built up in myself that I must have it all together, or I must have an answer for you when you ask me a question.
Yeah.
Or I need to have this divine wisdom that's going to blow your socks off. And so it's like this built up pressure that is so it's just not even realistic, let's be honest. And it's not even that great to be around, So, because you can tell when you're around somebody that really thinks that they have it all together and their stuff doesn't stink.
Is that us? I hope that's not us.
I hope that's not. This is us trying to my stuff stinks, okay?
Pee.
But, okay, so this is us just trying to be honest. So if we're talking about the last few days of our life, I feel like Darbi and I are in just a season of I don't know, individually, but also just as friends, just truly making even the smallest decisions to live out what we believe. Even if it's just a small side conversation or a quick text, but actually doing what we encourage you to do. And so, we'll peel the curtain back. We usually film on Thursdays.
Yes, 11 o'clock.
Thursdays at 11 o'clock. And that's because I was being a flaky little girl and I can't do it right now. Oh, let's do it later.
It is hard.
Yeah, and it's schedules.
Yeah.
It's hard. Okay.
It is.
But now we have a schedule for filming.
Yes.
Which is good to put some parameters around it and expectations. So we come here last Thursday, and I don't even know what happened, but we ended up on the floor and crying, lots of crying on my end, and and just I don't know. It was kind of I don't even know how it began.
We're talking about friendship.
Well, we were talking about what we were going to film that day.
Yes.
And then we were talking about friendship and the book Jenny Allen wrote.
Oh, yes.
Find Your People.
Find Your People. That's it.
Yeah. And then it kind of got into like our friendship and then our personal lives. And like we packed up the computer and the camera and we didn't film anything because nothing, there was nothing to be said yet.
Nothing that needed to be filmed that day. Okay.
Yeah. And so, man, that was probably the first time, honestly, that was just a really hard conversation. Yeah. And, you know, without, like, getting, like, too in-depth, because that's not always helpful, but what I felt like we resolved at the end of the day, because we talked in the morning, and then we let some time go by.
Yes. And we talked.
I did more crying in that time. And then we got together that night, and we were able to talk through some things. Yeah. And I feel like what some resolve came was that, one, like, be honest consistently. Like, don't feel like you have to always, because I feel like sometimes it comes from like a protection. If it's Darbi about me, she wants to protect me. So sometimes she wants to protect my feelings, and she knows that words mean a lot to me. She knows I can be emotional. Like, she wants to protect me, so she's not always honest with me. Is that right?
That's fair. Mm-hmm. That's
okay.
It. Yeah.
So that's something that came out of our conversation.
Yes.
Another thing, Darbi, and she's taught me this, is like sometimes you just need to take time to process in your own mind. Like, is this something I need to work through? Is this something we need to work through together? Is this on you? Like, let's establish what is actually going on here.
Yeah.
And after our conversation, I said, Darbi, like, invite me in on your processing. If it has to do with me, I'm okay with it. I can handle it. Like, I want to be a part of it. Because I think that's just part of being honest and transparent with your friends, is like, you don't, because then sometimes I feel like when you process alone, then you feel like you have to figure it out before you can talk about it.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
No, for sure. That was what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you assume things.
Yeah, you make assumptions because that person's not there to answer or to ask or whatever. And that's, I think there's good that comes with personal alone processing and reflection, because then you're not talking out of emotion. You're trying to gather your thoughts and involve the Lord. Pray, time. Is this really a matter worth bringing up? But I think what I found is, like, with Darbi, she is like a lifelong friend for me. Like, my soul loves her soul. So for me, it's like the little things matter to me. I want to be a part of, you know, the small, seemingly meaningless conversation with her. Like, I want everything to be out on the table, you know? And so I feel like for us, that conversation, it's like all of these things came to a head because there was not a whole lot of honesty. And there was, but there's not.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
I know, and I still don't feel like I fully have, like, words for why that is, because Kayla and I do talk about a lot of things. We do a lot of life together. Yeah. So that part is always legit. But I think in our busyness, my busyness, I get to thinking I don't have time to sit down and explain how I got where I am. This is just where I'm at. And so it kind of comes out like this volcano all of a sudden of either I've stuffed some things or I let a bunch of things build. And so because we've done life together, I think we could do that same thing with the Lord. Yeah. I'm doing all these things for you, and I assume we're doing them together, but I actually haven't brought you in on the inner parts of me and my thoughts and my emotions about what's been happening. So we've just gone through the motions. And then somewhere in that, I was like, I don't know if I trust Kaitlin because I never told her all the things. And I don't know why. I guess in my mind, I wasn't sure she could handle it, would handle it. You know, sometimes I think there are parts of ourselves that we're not sure other people are gonna like we're Quasimodo in the castle. Like, if you really see me in the light, like, will you like me? Will you trust me? Will you? And I think even with our closest people, you know, maybe how many of us do that with our spouse even sometimes? Like, we don't tell them the things that we really think and feel because they might reject or not love us. Yeah.
Well, I think for me, it's easier with Mason because Mason's stuck with me. Like, I don't ever see him hearing something about me and potentially not wanting to spend time with me anymore. But with a you or a friend, that is that's now a kind of like a daily choice.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be, and you work. I think our conversation led to, like, you don't have to fast track a friendship. Like, trust is built over time. Consistency is built over time. Like, what your friendship looks like, time helps with that. Like, it's not something that you have to rush. You can't get deep quickly.
Nope.
Like, it's a slow burn.
It is.
And so one other thing that we came to is, like, you know, friendship, sometimes it feels like friendship can feel like extra work.
No, it is.
Because it's something you have to do. But we kind of established, like, we're already, you know, let's do things together that we're already doing. Like, because sometimes when you're making friends or you're building friendships, sometimes you feel like you have to do extra things on top of your already busy life. I've got to go out on Friday night with them. I've got to go, like, find a babysitter so I can go to coffee. When sometimes that's, like, it just feels like a lot. Not that those aren't good things, because they are. But I think your regular, like, everyday life things you can do together. Like, hey, we're making, you know, whatever tonight, spaghetti tonight, y'all come over and eat. Or stop by on your way home from work. And, hey, what's going on? It's not, like, extra things.
Yeah, and one thing I realized, like, in my line of work, there can be a fine line of pastoring people and being friends with people. Yeah. And then on the flip side, are they friends with me because I work at a church? Or are they friends with me because they love all of me in my imperfections? Or the person that they think they see on Sunday? And so, not that I really feel like I had that with Kaitlin, but I do think, because she shifted her roles at church, and so I think anytime the common ground changes in your relationship, so whether that's your marriage and one of you gets a new job, or one of you loses weight, or I don't know, just anything can change, or even in your friendships. Oh, we don't work together. Our kids don't play together. We don't live in the same town. There is a shift that happens naturally, but I think we have to choose to lean in and press in when those changes come, instead of pulling out, which is more of our natural, it's my natural tendency to kind of, like, reevaluate. Do we make it past this shift?
Well, and that, I completely understand that mindset, because at the same time I was like, well, my friendship is not based on if I work at the church or not with Darbi. And I don't think hers was with me, but it is that mindset of, like, okay, she needs to vocalize what she's feeling about this, and I need to too, so that we can recognize we need to find a different common ground, that, like, hey, man, we just like spending time with each other. Like, you know, like, it doesn't, I think it was good for her to be able to say that, for me be able to say, oh, well, I didn't think of that at all, you know, but, like, not vocalizing it now.
Well, because there was a convenience factor too.
Right. Oh,
like, we automatically did all these things together, and now we're automatically not. And so then in my mind, I'm like, okay, so now I have to make this time. Do I have it to give? Right. What does that look like? Yeah. But you're right. I didn't bring Kaitlin in on that. So even now I'm saying that, I'm like, that makes a lot more sense to me now. Well, I mean, that's what this is all about. We're all learning. We're all growing. Y'all are welcome. Please learn from this. Oh, gosh. But, you know, at the same time, I sat there that whole day, and, I went to bed in about 2 seconds that night, because, you know, when you cry a lot, it makes you really tired. Headaches. Oh, man, I was real tired. Yeah. And it was good, because at the end of it, I thought, because throughout it, I was like, Darbi, I hate this. Like, I just hate, it doesn't feel like it needs to be this way. And I think that what I saw is that we encouraged you to have a hard conversation. We encourage you to lean into it, but when it gets down to it, it is hard. Like, it's harder than hard. It is hard. Oh my gosh. But what I felt so, like, relieved that I was like, I said everything I wanted to say to Darbi. Like, I wasn't, like, she wasn't ugly. I wasn't ugly. Right? Right. Okay. And I was honest. And there is some, like, it's like you unscrew a Coke bottle and it's like all that pressure is relieved. You're like, oh, I didn't hold anything back. Yeah. I've said everything I needed to say. And like we shared last week in the podcast, sitting here hearing these people's stories, I didn't think one thing less of them. Like, if anything, you care so much more about them. Same with the friendship. Same with Darbi. Like, it was like, I have such a greater love for her. And now it's like, now I can expect that she's going to be honest with me, and she can expect that I'm going to be honest with her. I think you can't be fully loved until you're fully known. And being fully known means that people do have to see the bad days, the hard conversations, like all of that. But man, I think that's where that relief comes in of like, we ended the day, I love you, as much now as I ever did. Like, we made it through that hump, that whatever that was. And so we know we'll do it again. Yeah. And we'll make it through that next time too. And there really is like just such I don't know. It's just like a good feeling to know that someone loves you like that.
Yes, it is.
So that's why we wanted to share kind of that moment for us, because that is real life. Yeah. And and just thinking through the weekend as a whole, because we started that on Thursday. That was literally just the one day. And then for both of us, like I was reflecting about my weekend, and I had met these two 18-year-old girls for lunch the next day and talking to them about their life and how they don't have, not sure what their purpose is, or it's not working out like they thought. And, just having that conversation with them, and then going to baseball all day. And my husband and I have to do things separately because we have too many children to do them all together. And so what does that look like? Yeah. And we took my oldest son out of town for a concert, and it was such a cool memory, but it's organizing kids in that. And then I had to have a hard conversation with another girl that is 17. And just the walking out of that, it's moment to moment. And all the while, like, my husband's going to the doctor on getting medication, getting better. I've had a sinus infection on my second round of meds for this. And it's like, that's the realness of life. Yeah. And then your weekend was... it was a lot of things. It was a lot of good things. Like, I even shared an Instagram post last night, like, just reflecting on all the things that... we did, whether it was just, like, loads of laundry. Like, I've been really good at keeping up on it, because we've talked about laundry before. That's my struggle, because it will pile up against the wall in my bathroom. And I'm like, oh, it's time. So I did so much laundry. We cleaned the house. And then my husband, we've got a whole fridge of beef that is frozen. And so now, like, he's like, beef every night, because we had a cow process. And so he's like, figure out new beef every night. We want beef every night. Figured out what to cook. And so we were going to have some friends over on Sunday. And we got out this whole huge, like, 5 things of beef, and so it's what's for dinner.
It's beef. It's what's for dinner. Cow. And so, it's like literally 11:30 on Saturday night. And I'm like, Mason, dude, I love him so much, but we are both unorganized to some degree. He's more than I am, okay? And so we're, always great intentions, but like, it's always a little last minute, or like a lot of work and a little bit of time. And so it's literally like 11:45, and we've both got serrated knives, like cutting off all this fat off of these briskets and ribs, and he's about to put beef jerky in the air fryer to go all night. I'm like, Mason, okay, whatever, but then the next day he's smoking it all day, and it's great and fun, whatever. But then him and my dad are like, cutting it all up that night, and there's people all over the house, and the whole floor is covered in grease and meat, and I'm like, this is gross. So they're cutting the meat, and then on the other side of the kitchen, I'm grinding it in a food processor, so it's like chaos, but it's fun, it's good, but then the next day, you wake up and you're like,
now we gotta clean it up.
It's a wreck.
Yeah.
It's a wreck. There's children here, and get them out of the house so I can, mop. Anyways, all that to say, like, there was a lot of things that went down in the weekend. It just felt like, wow, that was a lot in like 3 or 4 days. And
I think it's in those moments where you wonder, is this what other people's lives are they having to go through this? Because then you get on Instagram and you're like, no, you just see that one highlight reel.
They're like by the pool with their legs up with their drink. I'm like, okay.
And their children are just like so cute and behaving, and their house is all clean, and you're like
my kids slipped on grease when they were walking through the kitchen.
Real life, So I think that's why we strive to talk about this, because, for me, I really think I'm always looking for, like, how are you doing it? Because, and then I realized, like, this is it. The Lord always tells me, like, there's a sifting and a shifting that is happening in this season. And so that sifting requires that your character is always being developed. It's not a bad thing, because the goal is not perfection in any of it. But it's that he loves me enough to not leave me like he found me, and that I do want to live on mission for him. But that does require this hard conversation, or meeting with these girls, and it's a sacrifice, or giving time to my kids, and I have to say no to friends, or just whatever those constant decisions are, that you're being intentional and asking the Lord. I mean, it's so easy to say you've asked him, but really, I have to go, what did the Lord tell me? Oh my gosh, you're right, I haven't even asked him.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I think it's all of those little moments together. They do produce character. They do make you more well-rounded. And I think that there is, I think that for Christianity anyways, there's such a polarized view of Christians of, like, you if you don't have it all together, then you're probably not really a follower of Jesus, or you're a hypocrite, and so I think that, maybe not even on purpose, but it seeps into our mind. It's like, well, I've got to look like I have it all together.
Yeah.
Or else people are not going to believe me, or they're not going to trust me, or they're not going to listen to me, or whatever. They're not going to invite me in on their life, when, I think the reality is we've got to be more comfortable with just being real.
I know.
And so even we were just talking about a minute ago, like, what does our Instagram feed look like? Is there so much thought into what I post because it needs to look a certain way, or it needs to give off this vibe, or, whatever, when in reality, I'm like, I just appreciate the real, raw, honest people that...
My husband, we were at the concert, I said, babe, I'm going to take some pictures, okay, for the gram, for just my own personal viewing. He said, okay, but my one condition is no filters. And I was like, man, how hard is that to say, okay, we're not going to filter. We're not going to blur anything out. We're going to just, just be who we are. And why isn't that enough? Like, if I really am trying to be like Christ, then that needs to be enough. And not that I'm saying sin is okay, but I'm also saying I don't want to be striving for righteousness, because my Bible mentor, she said, Darbi, how righteous are you? I think I don't know, I feel like I keep going back to this, because initially I want to go, I don't know, 60%, 80%, and she goes, no, you're 100, because Jesus lives in you, so you are 100% righteous. So you don't have to keep striving to make up that 20, that 30, that 50, and then that just hit me.
Yeah, it's true.
Because that was my answer, was not 100.
Well, and in reality, if I see you on Instagram and there's filters all over the place, but we get together and I'm like, wow, you are nothing like what I saw, then what's the point?
You're 10 years older and 10 pounds heavier, right? No. Maybe.
And this corner of your house looks great, but the rest of it's a wreck, girl.
I love that one new piece of furniture, but all of that,
everything else. Woo. Yeah. So I think that's a perspective thing for me too. I love hearing that. It's like, man, I want what you see online. I want what y'all hear from us to be who we really are. Like, no filters, no fake, behind the scenes, the real. The real.
That's going to be our goal this week. No filters,
no
okay?
filters.
This is a no filter week. Maybe become a month.
Yeah. Hey, and we are just so thankful for, I don't know, I feel like we have just friends that are such cheerleaders for this and this conversation, and you always engage in it. And, I think that as we continue just to try and live this out and be real, be authentically who we are, we encourage you to do the same.
Yeah.
Always.
So we're going to continue a little bit of this behind the scenes. You guys know our platform. So if you have questions, you're like, what does this actually look like? Let us know. We'd love to talk about it with you guys. Sure. We do love that we have a community of authenticity with you guys and transparency. We want to keep growing in that. So stay tuned.
Yep.